Welcome back to the Scrapyard, friends. I'm your host, Barnabas Tone.
And this is me, your co-host, Frederick Allen Seto, but just call me Al.
In today's pre-show, not only are we going to learn the name of our next event, but see the cars and learn about the participants as well. However, I warn you fans, Al came up with the name for this event, and even I don't know what it is. I'm almost afraid to ask.
Afraid, Barry? What's the worry? This is me we're talking about.
Exactly.
Well, fans, if you didn't see our unboxing video, then you're gonna be a little to a lot lost. So if you haven't watched it yet, go back and see it, then come back immediately to finish this video, because if you proceed, you're in for some heavy-duty spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was your complimentary spoiler warning, so proceed at your own risk. As you know, in our unboxing video, superfan Carlos Antunes sent us a generous gift. So I decided to use those cars for our next event.
Yes, but how, Al?
Well, Barry, like I said in that video, I started working on it immediately. I figured for our next event, we'd do special teams. Team 1 would be all the cars donated by Mr. Antunes. And I thought for Team 2, we'd go through our fleet and try to find all our comparable cars, as close as we could get to the year, the horsepower, and model to Mr. Antunes' cars. But all comparable cars was just too long of a name, so I thought I could shorten it to just the initials, which gave me an A and 2 C's. And well, when I saw that, plus the fact that Mr. Antunes' cars were the fans' cars, I changed it from initials to a contraction.
A contraction?
Yes, a contraction. So the next Scrapyard event will be Fans vs. AC Challenge. The Fans vs. AC's Challenge.
I really don't know what to say.
I know, it's awesome, right? Anyway, I already made up all the title cards and charged it to your production account.
My account?
Well, you are the host, so the graphics department already has your card on file. Plus, you have a way higher limit than I do.
Anyway, let's see the cars.
Oh, this event will have more than just cars. Mr. Antunes actually signed on members of his family and friends to drive for his team. So I figured I'd pull some of the boys from the wrecking crew to race for our team.
Great, let's meet them.
Okay, but first, let me tell you the official team names. See, here at the Scrapyard, we have some pretty awesome and creative fans. Our event benefactor, Mr. Carlos Antunes, took the first half of his first name and the last half of his last name and wanted the official name of his team to be Team Cartoons.
That's pretty creative.
I know, right? My name is Frederick Allen Seto. No matter what I do with it, there's nothing creative I could spell that says something about me.
Anyway, so I'm guessing our boys are going to be called The Boys.
No, that's a comic book and a TV show, but also an R&B group from the late 1980s. They had a hit called Dial My Heart. Remember them?
A comic book became an R&B group? What?
Never mind, Mr. Elevator Music. Let's just say that name's taken.
So I guess it's the Wrecking Crew.
No, that's also the name of a comic book team. And a Dean Martin movie from the 1960s. It's great.
Dean Martin was also in a comic book?
No. Listen, let me just tell you the name of our team. It's called Scrapyard Diecast Racing.
That's it?
Well, yeah, it's inside a racing tire because we race cars at a junkyard.
That's creative?
Look, all the good names were already taken, okay? I came up with Fans vs. AC's Challenge. That's super creative.
That's super debatable.
Anyway, let's just move on to the cars and their drivers. First off, we have Group 1. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1983 Camaro stock car, driven by Mr. Antunes himself. He'll be going by the codename Wild Wheatmo. I think that was his codename in the Portuguese National Army. And again, this whole competition would not have been possible without Carlos's generous donation. And speaking of donations, we have the driver for our team. For the Scrapyard, it's the 1970 Chevelle stock car, driven by Nell 1. He's the head of the Scrapyard's graphics department.
Well, what does that have to do with donations?
Well, he's an artist. You ever see what they get paid?
Ah, I see. Point taken.
He needs all the donations he can get. Next, it's Group 2. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1995 Ferrari F50. Driven by his daughter, Sassy V. She could be the one to watch because not only is it her first time racing, it's her first time driving. For the Scrapyard, it's the 2018 Bentley GT3. Driven by Mean Nino Eddie. Ed drives the big rig that sits in Clunker Canyon. You know, that truck the ballerina Impala and the bear Monte Carlo jumped over in the Then vs. Now Grand Championship? Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Group 3 is going to be one to watch in my opinion. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1965 Custom Mustang. Driven by Mr. Antoon's father, Mr. Antoon's Crazy Carmine. His race will be really interesting because Mr. Carmine is an ex-European rally driver from the late 1960s and 70s. He drove a Ford Cortina until the wheels literally fell off. Let's see how he handles the Scrapyard. For the Scrapyard, it's the 1973 Falcon XB. Driven by Armand Doe. Armand operates the heavy machinery here at the Scrapyard, mostly the concrete pumps. So while that 73 Falcon is no Honda Fit, I'm sure it'll still feel as small as a 1970 Toyota Celica compared to his concrete truck. Group 4 is another group to watch. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1969 Custom Thunderbird. Driven by Carlos's own mother, Sweet Bay Tree. This will also be her first time behind the wheel, but she spent years being Crazy Carmine's navigator and co-pilot, so let's see how she does on the other side of the car. For the Scrapyard, it's the 1970 Monte Carlo. Driven by J. Vardo Duarte. Javardo works in our IT department.
Oh great, I'll need to talk to him because my monitors have been acting a little wonky.
Oh, I don't think he actually fixes anything. I think he's just in charge of sending the wrecking crew funny memes and dirty pictures. Next, we have Group 5. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1970 Oldsmobile Tornado. Driven by Sir Adriano. Supposedly, he's Carlos's racing mentor. Apparently, he drove multiple stages in the Group T4 truck class of the Dakar Rally. And rumor is, his driving skills got him knighted by the Portuguese Marquis de Ultrapassar, so he could be the dark horse in this competition. For the Scrapyard, it's the 1968 Auto Custom. Driven by Stock Market Mike. He's the Wall Street guy that now works in our finance department.
Wow, from Wall Street to the Scrapyard. Isn't that kind of a step down?
Actually, he says he's never felt more at home than here at the Scrapyard, because all he ever did was convince people to buy junk bonds. Finally, we have Group 6, and I have no idea what to say about this group. For Team Cartoons, it's the 1988 Monte Carlo SS Dragster. And I think he picked that car on purpose because Monte Carlo SS. Put Carlo and SS together and you get Carlos. Man, that guy has so many things he could do with his name. Anyway, it's driven by the mysterious female driver, Chi-Wolf. I asked Mr. Antoons, what exactly is a Chi-Wolf? He said it's a wild, vicious animal from the mountains of Portugal with a ferocious temper that seems to only attack people who attend too many garage sales. When I asked him to clarify, he just said any further explanation might land him on the couch. Anyway, for the Scrapyard, it's the 1964 Chevelle Dragster. Driven by Manny the Sports Coat. We're not really sure what Manny does or if he even works at the Scrapyard. What we do know is he's always walking around the yard wearing the same sports coat.
He wears a sports coat? In a junkyard?
No, he wears a sports coat everywhere. I think he used to be a pen salesman that somehow got lost at the Scrapyard and never found his way out.
Wow, that is quite the lineup. I think the fans are going to be in for something special.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. Since the boys from the Scrapyard are the ones racing, plus to do something in appreciation for Carlos's gift, we completely redesigned the track.
I guess that means it's time for a track flyby.
That's right, with everyone's favorite junk copter pilot, Wild Bob.
This is good old Wild Bob flying the Yellowjacket. And looky what we got here. A sign on the gate to remind all them drivers to stay back. And since we had that horrible gate accident with the Impala in the finals of the last tourney, we redesigned a safer gate system. We all call this design the guillotine.
Wait, you named a safer gate design after a medieval beheading device?
I know, Barry. We all thought it was pretty darn awesome, too. Anyways, moving on, we got the downhill, which feeds into the narrow bottleneck. And looky here, we got ourselves a curve. And we gave Mr. Carlos the honor of naming it, and he said he wanted to call it after his pappy. So you're looking at Carmine Corner. Then watch out, because that heads into my favorite part, Plunker Canyon. And after that, it's into the final wide straight. And then past the line into the welcoming arms of them there safety rocks and safety trees. Oh, and as a little surprise, we sent an unmanned clunker down the track so you all at home can see what it's like to run the scrapyard. Yahoo! It's gonna be a wild one.
Wow, thanks, Wild Bob. Go gas up the Yellowjacket and take a break. You deserve it after all those awesome changes to the track.
Well, since everyone else has made all these changes, maybe it's time I tell you how I've changed the rules for this tournament. Each race consists of 3 mandatory heats.
That's a Scrapyard staple. That rule's not going anywhere.
Right, but this is new. No restarts after a double DNF. Most wins out of 3 heats advances. In case of a tie, it's sudden death heats until one racer wins.
What? So we could have non-scoring heats? So if cars keep crashing, someone could theoretically advance with just 1 win? Wow, that does up the stakes.
And then back to everyone's favorite rule, make it across the line any way possible. On your wheels, on your roof, on top of your opponent, it doesn't matter, just cross the line. And finally, all cars are unmodified and must meet factory specifications.
That rule is really more because you failed at even the simplest attempts at wheel swaps. What have you gone through, like 10 cars?
You haven't been able to do it either, Al.
Well, moving on, let's take a look at the tournament bracket, plus how the races will break down. The groups are listed as to how they'll be racing. Groups 1 and 2 got an automatic bye to round 2 due to the number of teams in this tournament. So both Carlos and his daughter, Sassy V, who has never even driven a car before, have already made it to round 2. Lucky them.
This tournament looks like it's gonna be spectacular, Al. I think the fans are in for a thrill.
Barry, it's going to be awesome. So join us back here at the Scrapyard in 2 weeks for race 1, where we will all find out if Team Cartoons has what it takes to take on the Wrecking Crew boys from Team Scrapyard. In the meantime, this is Frederick Allen Seto saying goodbye and asking you to please subscribe, comment, and share this video with your friends.
And I'm Barnabas Tone saying goodbye and see you in 2 weeks.
Scrapyard Diecast Racing.